My name is Calla Renee Bishop. I'm 32 years old, and last spring, I sat alone in a parking garage in Nashville, Tennessee, and read 31 text messages from people I hadn't spoken to in 9 years. My father, my brother, my aunts, my cousins. People who had once stood in a circle around me and told me I was the problem. Not one message said, "I'm sorry." Every single one said some version of the same thing: "We need you." 9 years earlier, I had driven away from my childhood home in Harlan, Kentucky, with a duffel bag, a tank of gas, and $340 in a plain white envelope birthday money. My grandmother had been quietly saving for me for 3 years, without telling anyone. She handed it to me the morning I left and whispered, "Don't look back, baby. Not yet." I drove away while she stood on the porch in her house shoes. But before I tell you what happened when they finally found me, I want to take you back to the night that started everything. Christmas Eve, 2015. Harlan, Kentucky. Our house smelled like canned green beans and cigarette smoke. My father's truck sat in the driveway with a cracked taillight he'd been meaning to fix for 2 years. My brother Denton was home from his second semester at the University of Kentucky, the first person in our family to attend a 4-year university. My grandparents, aunts, uncles, and cousins crowded every corner of that small house. I was 23. I worked full-time at a medical billing office and took community college classes on Tuesday and Thursday nights. I had saved $1,800 toward a nursing program application fee and first semester costs. I hadn't told anyone yet. I wanted to wait until it was real. That night, my father stood in the kitchen doorway holding a beer and announced that Denton had made the dean's list. The room exploded with applause. My Aunt Linda cried. My grandmother clapped her hands together like she was in church. My father's face, a face I had rarely seen express anything soft, broke into the kind of smile I had wanted pointed at me my entire life. I smiled too. I meant it. Denton worked hard. He deserved it. But then my father said something I have never forgotten. One kid doing something right. Better than nothing. He didn't look at me when he said it. He didn't have to. Later that night, after dishes were done because I always did the dishes, I sat at the kitchen table with my grandmother, Nana Dot. She was the only one who ever sat with me while I cleaned up. I applied to the nursing program, I told her quietly. She reached across the table and covered my hand with hers. "Tell me everything." So I did. I told her about the application, the timeline, the financial aid gap I was trying to close. She listened the way only she could, completely still, completely present. "You're going to make it," she said. "I know it, the same way I know weather." 2 weeks into the new year, my father found my savings account statement on the kitchen counter. I had left it out by accident. He didn't ask about it. He told me. He said that my cousin Marcus had gotten into a bad situation, something involving a car and money owed to someone my father wouldn't name, and that the family needed to pull together. He used the phrase "pull together" the way people use umbrellas, only when something is already falling on them. He told me $1,500 would handle it. I said no. The room changed temperature immediately. "After everything this family has done for you," he said. I looked at him across that kitchen, the same kitchen where I had cooked dinner 3 nights a week since I was 14, where I had paid the cable bill twice when he came up short, where I had driven my brother to school for an entire year when my father's truck was repossessed, and I said, as calmly as I could manage, "What has this family done for me?" He told me I was ungrateful. "Cold. Just like your mother," he added, which was the cruelest thing he knew how to say, because my mother had left when I was 7, and none of us had heard from her since. That comparison was designed to wound. It did. Within an hour, the phone calls started. Aunt Linda, my cousin Bev, someone's husband. I had met twice, each one telling me some version of the same message: that family comes first, that I was being selfish, that Marcus was in danger. Nobody asked what I was saving for. Nobody had ever asked. That night, I packed my duffel bag. I put my savings account card in my jacket pocket. I went to Nana Dot's room and told her I was leaving. She didn't try to stop me. She went to her nightstand and pulled out that white envelope. "I've been keeping this for you," she said. "For exactly this. $340. 12 years of birthday 5s and 10s. I held it against my chest. Then I held her. "You call me when you land somewhere," she whispered. Somewhere with good light. I drove out of Harlan at 2 inches the morning. I didn't know where I was going. I just knew the direction away. I landed in Nashville because I ran out of the kind of courage it takes to keep going. I slept in my car for 4 nights in a Walmart parking lot. I showered at a Planet Fitness. I paid $25 to join. I applied to every administrative and medical office job I could find on my phone. On day 6, a small orthopedic clinic called me in for an interview. The office manager, a woman named Betty Okafor, looked at my resume for 30 seconds, looked at me for 10, and said, "You drove here from Kentucky alone. Why?" I told her the short version. She hired me that afternoon. $11 an hour. Part-time. It became full-time within 3 months. I won't pretend Nashville was easy. I ate rice and frozen vegetables for longer than I like to remember. I shared a 2-bedroom apartment with 2 women I found on Craigslist, one of whom played guitar at midnight, and one of whom was genuinely wonderful and became my closest friend, a woman named Priya who remains my person to this day. Back in Harlan, according to the fragments that reached me through Nana Dot's quiet updates, my father told people I'd had a breakdown, that I wasn't well, that the family was worried. I heard he used the word breakdown at church, Nana Dot told me, and I could hear the fury she was too polite to release fully. "He can't make you small from this distance," she told me. "Don't let him try." I didn't. But it cost something. Not knowing what story was being told about me in the place I came from. There is a specific grief in being unable to defend yourself to people who have already decided what you are. So I made myself undeniable instead. By year 2, I had enrolled in an accredited nursing program through a consortium affiliated with Vanderbilt. I worked mornings. I studied nights. Priya quizzed me on pharmacology at the kitchen table, while we ate takeout from the Thai place 2 blocks over that gave us extra spring rolls because Priya had once talked the owner through a panic attack in the parking lot. That is the kind of community you build when family fails you. Small, chosen, fierce. I graduated with my RN in 2020. Betty Okafor came to my graduation and brought flowers. Priya made a poster so large, she had to fold it to fit through the door. Nana Dot called me from her landline the moment I walked off the stage. "I knew it," she said. Same way I know weather. 2 years later, I became charge nurse in the orthopedic unit at a mid-sized hospital in Nashville. By 2024, I was appointed to a clinical operations leadership role, the youngest person, and one of very few without a graduate degree to hold the position, a fact that required twice the proof of performance and 0 grace for error. I didn't mind the pressure. I had been under pressure my whole life. At least now the pressure came with a salary. I bought a small house in East Nashville, a fixer-upper with original hardwood floors and a porch with good light, just like Nana Dot told me to find. I did not tell my family any of this. In March 2026, I was sitting in a parking garage after a long shift when my phone filled up with notifications. My father, my brother Denton, Aunt Linda, Cousin Bev, Cousin Marcus, the same Marcus. Numbers I didn't recognize that turned out to belong to relatives I'd met only at funerals. 31 messages. No missed calls because I had blocked those numbers years ago after the 3rd attempt to guilt me back home. They had found my cell number through a mutual acquaintance. I don't know who. It no longer matters. I sat in my car and read every message in order. Denton's first message was casual, almost breezy. "Hey stranger. It's your brother. Been a while. Hit me back." By message 4 he was asking me to co-sign a business loan. He was starting a landscaping company, and his credit score was, in his words, a work in progress. My father's messages were different. Shorter. He had been diagnosed with a degenerative disc condition and needed a procedure. His insurance had a gap. He needed financial help from someone stable. Aunt Linda wrote 3 paragraphs about how much family means and then asked whether I might be able to contribute to a legal situation Marcus was involved in. Again. Apparently, the pulling together was now a recurring event. I read all 31 messages. I called Priya. "They found me," I said. "Which one hurts?" she asked. "None of them said they were sorry," I answered. "That's what hurts. Not the asking. The not sorry." What none of them knew, what my father had no possible way of knowing when he sent those messages, was that I was scheduled to be the keynote speaker at a healthcare community development conference in Lexington, Kentucky, in 6 weeks. A conference my hospital network had been nominated to present at. A conference that had been promoted across Kentucky regional media. My photo. My name. My title. Nana Dot had seen the announcement in a regional newsletter and had quietly sent it to my cousin Bev, not to stir anything up, I think, but because she was proud, and she was 79 years old, and she had been keeping her pride about me private for 9 years. Bev showed my father. That was how they found me. I almost declined the speaking engagement after the messages came in. I called the conference coordinator and held the words I need to withdraw in my mouth for a long, quiet moment. Then I thought about Nana Dot standing on her porch in her house shoes at 2 inches the morning, watching my taillights disappear down the road. I'll be there, I told the coordinator. The conference was held in a hotel ballroom in Lexington on a Thursday evening in May. 230 people. Healthcare administrators, community organizers, local officials, hospital board members. I arrived early and walked the room alone before people filled it. I found Nana Dot at a table near the front. Priya had driven her from Harlan as a surprise. A fact that made me cry in the hotel bathroom for 4 minutes and then rebuild my mascara from scratch. My father sat 3 tables back, Denton beside him, Aunt Linda on the end. They had driven 2 hours, apparently, which told me everything about what they thought this moment was going to be for them. My father wore his good shirt. He looked older, smaller, somehow in a way that had nothing to do with his physical size. When the moderator introduced me listing my credentials, my career trajectory, the scholarship fund I had established through my hospital for nursing students from rural Kentucky, I heard the room respond. I heard one specific sound beneath the applause. Nana Dot's voice saying yes, 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 like punctuation. I stepped to the podium. I gave my prepared remarks on rural healthcare access, on workforce retention, on what it actually takes to recruit clinical professionals back to underserved areas. I was professional. I was specific. I was prepared. And then, near the close, I paused. I grew up about 2 hours from here, I said. Some of the people in this room tonight know my family. The room stilled. I left at 23 with a duffel bag and $340 my grandmother had been saving in secret because she knew, before I did, that I was going to need to go. I didn't leave because I didn't love the place I came from. I left because staying was something I could no longer afford. I did not look at my father. I didn't need to. I wasn't speaking to him. The most radical act of community care, I continued, is sometimes protecting one person long enough to let them become who they were going to be anyway. Someone did that for me. Her name is Dorothy Bishop, and she is sitting right there. 230 people turned to look at Nana Dot. She covered her face with both hands. Her shoulders shook. The applause was long. Afterward, my father found me near the door. His expression was complicated in a way I had never seen on him before, like several emotions were competing and none of them were winning. "You did real good up there," he said. "Thank you, Dad." A pause. "I didn't know," he started, then stopped. "I know you didn't," I said. "You didn't ask." He looked at the floor. "The procedure." "I got your message," I said. "I'll think about it." That was honest. It was also everything I could give him that night. Denton caught my eye across the room. He nodded once, not a thank you, more like a, "I see you," the first real acknowledgement I had received from him in 9 years. I nodded back. I walked Nana Dot to Priya's car myself, her hand in mine, her pearls catching the parking lot light. "How do you feel?" she asked. I thought about it seriously. "Like I've been carrying something for 9 years, I said. And I finally put it down in a room full of witnesses. She squeezed my hand 3 times, which was her way of saying "I love you" when words felt like too much. In the weeks that followed, the town's response to that evening moved in the way small-town truth always moves, slowly first, and then all at once. People who had heard my father call me unstable for nearly a decade now knew what I had built while he was talking. Church friends. Neighbors. His own brothers. He never asked me to co-sign anything. Neither did Denton. Again. A month later, I received a card in the mail. My father's handwriting unsteady. Unpracticed. Like someone writing in a language they learned long ago and rarely use. "I stayed quiet when I should have stood up for you. That's on me. I don't expect anything from you. I just needed you to know that I know." 8 sentences. No excuses. No ask. It was the first honest thing I had received from him in my entire adult life. I put the card in the same drawer where I keep Nana Dot's white envelope still folded. still carrying the ghost of $340 and a 2 a.m. goodbye. Thanks for watching. I haven't called him back yet. But I haven't thrown the card away either. My name is Calla Renee Bishop. I'm 32 years old. I own a small house with a porch that gets good morning light. I have a best friend who made a poster, too large to fit through a door. I have a job I built from a parking lot and a Planet Fitness membership and $11 an hour. And I have Nana Dot, who knew, the same way she knows weather. Here is the thing I want you to take with you. If you made it this far, there is a difference between help me and I'm sorry. One is a transaction. The other is a beginning. You cannot skip the second one to get to the first and expect someone to open the door. You are not selfish for needing that difference to matter. You are not ungrateful for knowing your own worth. And you are not cold for deciding that love without accountability is just obligation wearing a warmer coat. The bravest thing I ever did was not leaving at 23. The bravest thing was being still enough, 9 years later, to let them come to me, and to finally, clearly, know the difference between the people asking for rescue and the one woman who had always, quietly, been building mine. So I'll ask you the same question I ask myself sometimes, late at night on that porch with the good light. If someone who hurt you called tomorrow, truly called, after years of silence, what would you need to hear before you picked up? Help me. Or I'm sorry. Those two answers will tell you everything about where you actually stand. Thank you for listening to my story. I'll see you in the next one.